welcome back to another NRL All-Out episode, round 24, Bents. What are we thinking, mate? How good was the weekend? You know, those haters, I think we might have quietened them a little, mate. Those Bronx Nation, baby.
Yeah, I mean, too little, too late, and now we've lost our Pookie Bear, Reece Walsh. But,
our Pookie.
Look, finals, there's still a chance, as some would say. However, the chance is
very
pretty much
slim.
impossible.
We basically just need all the other teams to lose.
Yeah, we need our 0.01%.
Dragons, Dolphins, and Newcastle.
Yeah.
We need all of them to lose.
It could happen. Could is a big word, though. It's not happening.
Just like Martin Luther King, Bents, I think we dare to dream.
I dare to dream. Go Broncos.
Potentially, we could make it. The only one I'm worried about is the Storm in the last round.
Yeah, I think that would be GG. And I know Reece Walsh has just fractured his hand. He's out for 2 to 3 weeks. So
Yeah. You never know.
Bronx.
You never know, Bents. You never know. He could be back next week because we've got the bye this week.
Yeah.
But
next
never
year
know.
is the Broncos year.
I think so, brother. I think so. But, mate, the NRL has announced some exciting news.
Very exciting news. There's actually some talking going on about they might host a 100-meter sprint race in the grand final at halftime.
Ooh.
Finally, all of our wishes coming true.
Yes,
And,
I know a lot of us have been
We've been
wishing
calling
for this
for years. And speaking of it, I've actually got the NRL's fastest players of 2023, and I want to play a special game with you, Dor. I want you to guess the top 5 fastest speeds of 2023 of all the players.
Oh,
You get 3 strikes, then you're out.
3 strikes. All right. Is Xavier Coates one?
He's not. That's 1 strike, mate.
Oh, far out. I'm off to a poor start. Cam Pereira?
No, he's actually number 7.
Dear. Xavier Savage.
Oh, you're 0 for 3. Disappointing, Dor.
How did none of those 3?
I know. Number 5 was actually Josh Adokar. He had 36.75 kilometers per hour. Then there was Dominic Young, 36.82. And number 3 is a surprising one. Micah Sivo was there, 36.86 kilometers. Who knew the big Fijian can run like that?
He can move.
And then Jason Saab is second at 37.11. And number 1 is actually Ronaldo Mulatalo with 37.18 last year.
Far out. I thought like those names, some of those names like Dom Young, Sav, I was probably going to get to them, but I thought for sure some of those guys were definitely going to be in there.
Yeah, definitely kind of unexpected. But like, I think if there was actually a race, I think the true track stars would come out. The ones that did athletics during their time during high school. I think Xavier Savage, I know he had a world athletics time of 10.85, which is very impressive. And I know Kohler has like a GPS record of like 10.58.
Yeah, he was going to be another one that I was going to mention. Yeah,
I think Kohler, Savage, and Saab and Coates would be my top 4.
Well, who do you think would win if they do it this year?
I think Kohler would win. Although I have just seen some reports. Savage actually claims his best is 10.5 when he got and he got that when he was 16. However, the World Athletics website says different. Although I don't know. I think I'd have faith in Savage, the local man.
Yeah, I think over 200 meters, I think Saab is like he's just definitely winning.
We've all seen those clips of Saab training with that sprinting coach.
Yeah, Roger Fabry.
Yeah, I feel like he's got something in him. He's got someone to prove.
Well, it's just like from what I've heard is that he just obviously because of how tall he is, once he just gets going, like over like 200 meters, he'd definitely I think be the fastest. But obviously he could get a bit because he takes a little while to get going into stride. I think those like cooler. I think Cam Pereira for
he's
me
a
is.
smoky.
You've obviously got the Hammer. There's like plenty of names, Coates. Yeah. But I actually really think Cam Pereira is a real smoky. He'd probably be over the 100 meters. He'd probably be my pick. I saw him I think last year at Magic Round in the flesh. He absolutely pinned the ears back and just. I'd never seen it. Took me back to prime Jimmy the Jet days, mate.
Oh man, they were the days.
I actually, Cam Pereira for me.
Oh yeah. Well, let's segue onto
our
fantasy
team.
news. Yeah.
How did our team go love week? Ooh.
You got a love there?
Yeah, I do, brother. And look, not too bad. Obviously, there was some really good performances and some quite mid ones, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, look, we got the Hammer in, and he hasn't really lived up to the hype really since we got him in. Look, it's not diabolical like horrendous scores, but look, 28 points is
not ideal.
Really not that it. And then obviously probably another one to touch on as well, which probably let a fair few sides down, is obviously Keon Kulamatangi, 26 points, not playing the 80 minutes anymore, obviously shifting between the edge and the middle there with Murray coming back. It's going to be...
He's looking interesting. I know he had a bit of an issue. Like, I don't know if it was exactly an injury because he came back on, but I saw him like squirming a little bit. So I know he got less minutes than usual and wasn't getting so involved. But yeah, now he's playing second row, which is kind of worrying.
It's
However, he does
t-
have the Tigers this week.
Yeah, tough situation for coaches. Obviously, good matchup this week, but he's lost the minutes and his PPM's obviously gone down. Like you said, Bents potentially could be carrying an injury there. So, look, we will touch on it later in our buy, hold, sell.
We got excited.
We'll dive into that later. But yeah, we got 866 points, Bents. We did drop a few ranks. We're now 1,989th. We were 1,860th last week, but we didn't do any trades this week. Look, I think that overall it's our team's in a good situation, but I think that we might need to make a trade this week to someone like a Ponga or a Turbo or potentially get like a Ola Kawatu or a Preston, like another gun in. Obviously, with the injury to Matto, even though he's been named, that we will touch on in a second. That's a bit touch and go, but at least we get Teddy back this week. That is a good positive, brother.
Thank God for that.
And let's get to 1,500, top 1,500, I reckon.
Top 1,000 is possible.
After this week, or you're thinking like for the rest of the season?
I
was thinking we get top 1,500 after this week, I reckon. We make a move. So. Make a move this week. Anyway, let's, speaking of movement, brother, let's move into round 24's TLT, mate. And what an absolute blockbuster we get it underway with Panthers versus Storm at Bluebet. First versus second, the battle for the minor premiership.
It's like an early grand final, really.
I honestly can't wait, Bents. Obviously, some things to note with the Panthers side. Obviously, Liam Martin and Sorensen both went down injured last weekend, so they've both been ruled out for the Panthers. They've got Maverick Geyer and Henry coming into their second row. Apart from that, basically Jack Cole comes in on the bench as well. Fisher Harris is lurking in the extended reserves. Otherwise, that is basically the go-to Penrith side. And then obviously on the Storm side of things, apart from I think it's just Eli Katoa coming back into the starting side after missing last week. Some said he had a niggle. Some said he was getting rested. But long story short, he's back, brother. What are you thinking?
Well, there's nothing really too fantasy relevant going on, like in terms of Storm here. I know Grant is finally getting some good scores there.
Yeah, he had a good score the week before, and then last week was a bit all right, like average.
Obviously, Tyron Wishart, if you still got him, I'd be looking to offload him now that he's going down rapidly in price. But other than that,
he's still going all right, surprisingly. He got 41 last week.
I'm just happy to see two pretty much full-strength teams versus each other for the title, I guess, well, the minor title. And also, saw some news today. The Panthers have signed Blaze Talagi from the Eels, which is going to be huge for them next year.
Yeah, IPAP and Blaze, they continue to, even with the losses of Luai and Taruva next season, they continue to be a powerhouse, basically.
They're going to be just threats for the next 10 years, realistically.
Benji play IPAP around like 20 minutes. That's all we need. Just get that price right down low and we can buy him nice and early next year for the Panthers. But look, obviously, just quickly also to touch on like a bit of fantasy implications with this game is obviously that if the Panthers win, that will bring them equal on points with the Storm. The reason I say this is because obviously with them being on the same points, they could be fighting for the minor premiership, which means that they're probably not going to hopefully not rest their players, because obviously for an overall player, and then obviously for head-to-head, we'd like to try and bring the finals before the last week, because obviously a lot of teams try to rest their players if they can't really change their position on the ladder. So honestly, I think I'd really like to see Penrith win this one to bring it even. even points, and then they really like not rest any players and slug it out to try and get that the minor premiership. Obviously, I think you get you get the trophy. I think it is. You get a bit of financial bonus. I think as well. So
I think they're going to be going all out, and I think it gives a very good reason to put that captain on Cleary as well.
Yeah, look, he didn't have the greatest week last week, but still got I think 56 points. So
I think I'm going to do it despite the Thursday curse.
I like that, Bence. I like it. YOLO. Anyway, let's move on to the Friday 6 p.m. game, brother, at 4 Pines Park. We've got the Manly Sea Eagles taking on the New Zealand Warriors.
Back.
Turbo is back.
He's so
Look,
back.
he was absolutely special down in Canberra on the weekend. Spoiled Papa's party, 300th. Very sorry for Papa. He played very well himself, but the Raiders unfortunately didn't turn up. And their season, like the Broncos, is on basically life support. Basically really need some results to go their way.
Just give up hope.
But look, I think looking at that Manly side, I think Josh Alloway, or I think that's how you pronounce it, Alloway.
LIA, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's back at prop. Obviously, Bully, he was outstanding. Our NCOB brother, Ethan Bullmore, last week. He was exceptional, scoring a try there. God, he's got some wheels. I reckon he's got to be one of the closest or fastest forwards. I reckon.
Get him in the race.
Maybe they need to do like a forwards and backs race.
That would be special.
That would be very special.
Take that, surely.
Big Fifi.
Yeah, I also know a lot of people brought in Olakawatu last week, and
He got
sadly,
39 points.
39, kind of disappointing. However, I feel like he's got opportunity to lift on that.
Easy hold, I think, Bence. And look, the Warriors, even though that they really pushed the Dolphins on the weekend, Dolphins have sort of fallen off a little bit. And I think Manly back at home, continuing that really good attacking style of football. I think you've definitely got to hold the likes of, say, Olakawatu and DC, Ruben Garrick as well. What about Lehigh Hopewade? He's been special.
He's been going. I haven't really been keeping
He
tabs
killed
on
it. He killed it on the weekend. He's been really good. Obviously, Kula is named on the 18th man, so potentially he could replace Hopewade, and maybe Talau goes back to the wing, or maybe Talau loses his spot. I'm not sure. But that's something to note. Really, basically, only really the one change there for Manly. Onto the Wars. Sean Johnson, obviously the sad news last week that this will be his final season in the NRL. So SJ is back. Unfortunately, that is at the expense of Tamare Martin, who
He was doing pretty well.
He had a really good game. I think he got 61 fantasy points last week. He's always really stepped up when SJ has been injured this season. He's been a real revelation for the Wars this season. And moving forward, I think that Tamari Martin and Metcalf or Harris Tavita, I think that combination can really flourish. They also have Jet Cleary as well.
He's going to be good.
They can use at their disposal next season. But look, apart from that, I think Ali Leotoa is obviously out as well. I think he failed his HIA, so Pompey comes back in the centres. And then, like I said, Tamari Martin out and Johnson in.
What would you do if you were, I don't know if you're a holder, Dylan Walker? I know a lot of people have him, and he's got a few lackluster scores in the past few weeks. He's sitting at 557K. He's looking like a potential sell. 25 points on the weekend after a sin bin, though.
The sin bin doesn't really help. He's like, he's obviously not in that Keon situation, because obviously Keon's like 768. It's all right. He got 36. Like 36, it wasn't that great though. Like break even at 54. I'm just trying to think. Like, I think I'd rather hold. The thing is though, is like it really depends on your situation financially.
Luxury
depending
trade,
on where, luxury trade. Depending on where you are in your head-to-head, or if you're playing overall. Like we touched on last week, if you can really make that trade to a gun, like definitely do it. But he's like 547K. You're probably easier going from like Keon, but obviously, like we touched on, really good matchup this week. I'd give him one more shot. I'd give him another week.
Agreed.
That is my honest opinion. Anyway, let's move on to the late game on Friday night.
What a game.
The Roosters versus the Eels. Look, the Eels have been very impressive the last few weeks. Obviously went over to New Zealand, got the job done there, and then really should have beaten the Panthers, but obviously had a horrible last 10 minutes there, and the Panthers scored, I think, like 3 tries in 5 minutes or something like that.
Mm.
So that's obviously very disappointing for the Eels. But look, they'll take a lot of confidence from last week. And look, on the Roosters side of things, doesn't look like there's really any changes.
Nothing.
Obviously, Dom Young, there was a bit of concern with him because he obviously got injured before they had the bye, but he's been named. He's all good to go. Apart from that, basically, apart from Warrior Hargreaves still being suspended, that's the same Roosters team apart from Nafu White. No, Nafu White's been there, yeah. So it's the same Roosters team as we've seen the last few weeks. And obviously on to the Eels. Look, there doesn't look like there's really any changes to their team from last week. Obviously, the only thing is that the NRL physio reported yesterday that he didn't think that Madison was going to be named after he broke, I think, 3 ribs.
Impressive. He must have iron ribs.
Or 3 bones in his ribs or whatever last weekend. But he's obviously been named to play. So I think that's definitely one to watch, though. It's one to watch because he could easily be, named and then a late withdrawal. And
I'd be watching the late mail for that one.
100%.
I have a feeling because he has a tendency just to, get shuffled around a lot just before kickoff. So
look at those all-out 24-hour mail stories, and then also an hour before kickoff because sometimes they might give him a bit of extra time and then cut him right before, or the hour before kickoff. So anyway, on to the early Saturday game.
The fish of the week.
Yeah, that's it. The Dolphins versus the Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
In Bundaberg.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the Doggies are taking a game up to Bundy. Special. I think they did that last week or took a game up there. Anyway, special stuff from the Dogs. And, geez, they've been in special form. I know Cord's not here, but his man, Toby Sexton, he was special last week for the Doggies in their big win over the Red V. But, look, apart from that, I think
really
Jamin, speaking of fish of the week, the salmon is back on the bench. So he comes onto the bench, and unfortunately, Lipoi Hopoi is he's back to 18th man.
Mm-hmm.
And on to the Finns. Look, I think the only one there is Big Marky Nichols, the GOAT, obviously failed his HIA on the weekend. So he's obviously been, he's out of the side. And then Lachlan Hubner that actually came on, was activated as the 18th man. He comes onto the bench, and you've got Trey Fuller at 18th man. So not really many changes there for both of those sides. It should be a good game, but look, the Doggies trying to fight for that top 4 spot. Even though it's in Bundy, I still seem to back the Doggies. Their defense is second best, nearly the best in the comp. So
yeah, I also want to point out Max Plath is looking like an absolute stud at hooker. His last 3 games, he's got 64, 63, and 83.
Yeah.
So 693K for those looking for a hooker or a half cover.
It's diabolical. He started off at hooker horribly, and then he was losing so much money. We told people to sell, and then just the last 3 weeks, he's just been absolutely studding.
He's a stud.
Speaking of which, how much did you say Plath was, brother?
693K.
Look, going back to that Dylan Walker situation, I'd be activating. Be activating Walker to Plath in that scenario. Obviously, on to the next game, brother. 5:30 up in North Queensland again. The Cowboys taking on the Raiders. Apart from the Chad has been dropped, Big Jakey Clifford into the halves.
Interesting. Considering the time of the year as well, like the finals pressure, it's a big call to make.
Exactly. And obviously now with that loss last week, they're not on life support like the Broncos and Raiders, but
they should be worried.
There's obviously concern with how the Dragons have been playing and how they've sort of shaped up this season. Obviously, they can, at any weekend, obviously 2 weeks ago, you saw them beat the Storm in Melbourne. So they can really turn it on at any week. Obviously, last week, it wasn't their greatest performance, but look, they could bounce back big time this week. But look, on the Cows, apart from Chad being moved out for Clifford, the other thing is obviously Jeremiah Nanai, who failed his concussion on the weekend. So Finay Fukiaki is back starting. And the bench, I think McKaylee just comes back in, and they've got Chester at 18th man. Obviously, Ruben Cotter. And the thing on the Cowboys quickly as well, brother, is just obviously they've got the bye next weekend, I believe. So, look, I wouldn't be buying any Cowboys players this weekend.
Nope.
Yeah.
For those that have like someone like Scott Drinkwater, like myself, maybe look to offload him to a Ponga next week as well. But for this week,
potentially.
For this week, no issues.
Surely they bounce back up at home.
Yeah, against the Raiders too, who are pretty trash right now. I'd be holding any Cowboys player.
Well, it's the same. Like as we touch on the Raiders, brother. Obviously, like we said, season's on life support. The only real change for the Raiders is obviously Jordan Rapana. He failed his HIA on the weekend. So that's.
I see Danny Levi's on the bench, which is a bit worrying for Starling owners.
I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned.
I think he's going to play barely any minutes.
He's going to
anyway.
play 70. I still think Starling can play 70 to 80 minutes.
Definitely a hold for Starling.
Even though he had a poor performance last week, I think he can definitely bounce back.
Yeah,
obviously, the only other changes is Seb Chris moves onto the wing with obviously the absence of Rapana. Ethan Strange moves from 5'8" into the centres, and then that sees Adam Cook move into the halves, and then obviously, like you said, that's why Danny Levi has come onto the bench. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a big game for the Raiders. They need to win this one because if they lose, it's over. It's like the Broncos, but luckily we've got the bye this week. But
Free win.
But Broncos, Newcastle, and Raiders are basically preying on Dragons and Dolphins to basically lose at least 2 of their next 3 games. So, look, tough times for the Raiders, but yeah, they got to win on the weekend. Anyway, on to the late game on Saturday night, brother. We got the Tigers versus the Rabbitohs at Campbelltown. Look, only one change here for the Tigers. Luluai, I think it is, or Luke Luluai. I think. Luke, if I'm absolutely butchering that, but he's obviously coming in onto the wing for Alamalo. Apart from that, I think the Tigers
bit of a cheapie that came up. Fartape, he gained about 40k this week, and his break even's -10. However. He did score a try, and he was on 55 at halftime.
He was on a very good score.
On 56.
Yeah, he was on a very good score.
It's a bit of a walking red flag right there. And
we do have Fatape as well, but we didn't play him, of course.
I guess
we played him last week, but then the week before, and then last week.
If you need to free up some cash, I guess you need a cheapie. He's probably like
he's like 260k or whatever he plays every week.
277. And his break even's -10. So
yeah, the other thing is as well is obviously unfortunate news. He's probably a sell now. Actually, now that I think of that, Ruben Porter has been moved to the extended bench. So the reserves with Seyfarth moving into the second row. So I really think that unfortunately for Ruben Porter, I think it might be time to go, blood.
For Ruben Porter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, you could hold him because you got him cheap or whatever, but
it's got to go.
He's got to go. I think that's really it for the Tigers. Obviously, Samuel Alafano didn't have his greatest performance on the weekend, but he's definitely still.
But like,
he's probably a
hold.
Yeah, he's probably a hold unless you're going to Big Maxi Plath.
Yeah.
Obviously, onto the South side of things, Jai Gray has been exceptional since obviously the Latrell Mitchell injury. He has really flourished at that fullback position. And obviously Fletcher Myers as well has gone not too bad as well, scored a few tries the last couple of weeks in his chance in the top grade. So I think with the rest of that, obviously, like you touched on earlier, Bents, Keon is in the second row and Cameron Murray at lock.
I would say I'd be like worried about Kolomatangi playing second row. However, that matchup against the Tigers, like I just don't think I could sell him. He could easily grab a meat pie.
But what about, you think that, obviously we were talking off pod and we will touch on him in the buy, hold, sell, but we really like the look of Cam Murray this week, sort of bottomed out now.
Yeah. Everyone knows like Cam Murray, when he's playing every single week, he'll go up to 800 or so K. So he's so undervalued at 659K.
And back at lock as well, which is a big thing, not on the edge.
He's been playing second row, and even in second row, he's been scoring 50s. So in the lock, I can imagine he's gonna explode.
Yeah, and then Chi Cam drops out as well with Hosty coming back onto the bench. Onto the first game on Sunday, the Red V are taking on the Titans, obviously both coming off losses last week. Just quickly, I'd like to send our thoughts out to Hame Sele, that obviously had to go to hospital last weekend during the game, and obviously he's probably going to be ruled out for the rest of the season. Obviously, he had a regular heartbeat, was struggling to breathe on the field. Look, we just send our thoughts to Hame. Hopefully, a full recovery, and we'll see him back hopefully as soon as possible. But if it's next year, well, we'll see you next year.
Obviously, for you, brother.
Yeah. Obviously, Jack Bird comes in onto the bench for Hame Saleh. And Toby Couchman. So the Couchman brothers are back together on the interchange bench. And obviously Phenom, I think Max or Matthew, I think it's Max, comes in into the centres to replace Moses Sully, who's out injured. Obviously on the Titans side of things, obviously I think it was, Brian Kelly was out last week with illness. So he moves back into the centres, which means Brimson moves back onto the bench. One thing to note, obviously, with the Titans side as well, is that Fodawaker is unfortunately out with a one-game ban, suspended, which then means Jamin Jolliffe, starts at prop. And then, like I said, one to watch is Bo Firma. He's named 18th man at the moment, and really could be back. He could come in a late ad after missing last week with that bruised kidney.
His form was sensational before he got injured as well, so it definitely could look like a buy if he's back in that starting team. But yeah, I'd look at that late mail, see what happens.
Yeah. Again, check the stories. Watch that 24-hour late mail and those team lists before kickoff. On to the last game, brother, to wrap up round 24. We've got the Up Cronulla Sharkies taking on the Newcastle Knights at PointsBet Stadium, brother. Obviously, look, the Sharks, what a win last week, just quietly.
We were laughing.
44-0.
Yeah, we were laughing like Brayley at halfback. We were doubting.
Yeah, Brayley ended up, they'll do the same thing. Like, while Brayley is named at...
he's not really playing halfback.
At 7, he will play 9, and then we will see McInnes play at halfback. And obviously, that's not the greatest news for McInnes, but at least that means he's playing 80 minutes, so he should still get a reasonable score. I don't really think there's any changes to that Sharks team from last week. Same 17. Obviously, like we said, there could be some changes. On to the Knights. Obviously, Dylan Lucas missed last week with injury. He is back this week, so... Pardon me, he comes into the centres and Mapalangi makes way, brother. Look, quickly, obviously that's all the teams for round 24, but obviously we're into this late part of the fantasy season, obviously the nitty gritty. You don't have many trades left. Look, the all-out team, I think we've got 3 trades left. I know you were saying, Bents, you've got 5 trades left. Myself, I've only got 1 trade left.
I've been rationing.
Yeah, you have been rationing, brother. But look, obviously it's a tough time. There's no point of us doing a separate buy, hold, sell episode. I think we just combine it all into the one. So let's move on to the round 24 buy, hold, and sells, brother. Let's start it with the man who, as we did have him on our templates last week and did touch on him on the podcast, but we really need to reinforce the fact that Pingu Pongu, Kalen Ponga, 64 points on the weekend, break even of 47, priced at 640K. I think this is the lowest he's going to get, Bents, and I think you've got to get him in this week.
He's pretty much the exact same opportunity as last week, except his break even's lower. So now he's going to go up in money. He was 688K, went down 648K.
He went down 8K.
Yeah. He's getting 64, going down. Now is the week to get him. Otherwise, you're going to be kicking yourself.
Yeah. Great matchup as well, like we touched on. So, look, it's obviously a bit of a tough one with it's not the greatest matchup, but after this week it is. And I think that if the Knights do want to keep their season alive, like I touched on, Bents, Ponga has to be instrumental. He was special on the weekend, as well as a good old Fletcher Sharpie. But look, if the Knights want to make the finals, obviously, like we said, their situation's slim, but Ponga's got to lead the way. Obviously, the next man, we did touch on him last week again, but this man has bottomed out. They're back at home this weekend against the Wars, known to concede some points. It's Tommy Turbo, brother. He's 698K. He got 78 points on the weekend. A break even of 32, brother. I think this is the time you've got to get on Turbo.
Yeah, I really like that they have a bit of pressure for finals as well because, when they need to win, Turbo's going to lift and get his hands on the ball, and that's what he's been doing. 78 with 2 tries. Obviously, no buys for the end of the year. Oh, wait. Yeah, sorry. They don't have any.
No bias, no.
Yes, I would obviously go
Great
Ponga over
matchups.
him, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, he's second best, but still, we've got to touch on him because his form has been, 52, 91, 31 by 78 since he's gone back to fullback. And look, it's the exact same situation as Ponga, except obviously I think the Manly have the better squad as a whole. But look, if Manly want to go all the way, they need Tommy Turbo firing.
Yeah, I don't mind it as a buy at all.
Obviously, we did touch on good old Jacob Preston, brother, my pod from my sick week that I called in, and he has been special. 719K, got 62 points on the weekend, break even of 49. Look, if you're a bit worried about the Keon situation, like we touched on earlier, Bents, or even, Dylan Walker, and you got some money in the bank, look, I think Preston is a gun.
He's just reliable. Like he just gets 50 to 70 pretty much every week.
And his scores are a bit better than usual just with the how well the doggies are playing. Obviously, they're firing at the moment, so that means Preston scores have been a lot better. Look, he could go. I don't know exactly what Sorreldo's role is for Salmon, for our fish of the year, Jamin Salmon. I don't know what Sorreldo has in store for his role.
I doubt he'll take minutes off.
But I don't think he's going to take minutes off Preston or kick out unless of injury. Obviously, another man we touched on. Obviously, we are repeating a few names, but obviously if you didn't get them last week, you really need to get these guys in this week. Obviously, like I said, we've got Carrigan has the bye, but if you haven't got him, probably next week as well, brother, he's going to be a great option to finish the season with.
Yeah. He's been sensational. I brought him in personally about 4 weeks ago, and I think he's got 60 every single week.
Yeah, lovely.
And I have the bye this week personally.
As well as the Broncos. So, look, he's just one to get in next week. We'll
Definitely
probably go into next week. Maxi Plath, brother. Look, we did touch on him a little bit.
He's arguably my buy of the week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
693K.
693K, half and mid, dual eligibility.
Yeah, as I said earlier, his
BE
scores
22.
were insane. He's just got 83, 64, and 63 before that. He's in nearly every tackle, I think. I reckon he's one of the buys of the week, him and Ponga for me.
Yeah, playing big minutes. Look, I think that Plath is a special option, brother. Like, I apologize. These first few weeks at hooker were really poor. But, of course, after the all-out team basically put him as a sell, he has transcended and, like Ben said, just absolutely gone pogo. So, look, if you need a mid or a half coverage, I think Plath is your man. He's getting prime, 800K scores with like what you just touched on, Bents. Onto his teammate, mate, Herbie Farnworth.
Oh, I love Herbie.
Yes, he was exceptional again last week. I think he's been pretty good the last few weeks. Look, 698K, 94 points last week, break even at 25. Look, he just loves to bust a tackle and throw an offload. It's fantasy gold.
He's just so good to watch because we love a center that's a bit of a hog as well. He just runs it, puts his head down, tackle break, offload. He's the man. But personally, at that price, it is a little bit risky going for a center. I'd probably go some other options over him. However, I would not blame anyone for getting him because it's Herbie and he's just got 98. So definitely a buy option.
Look, and another one to touch on as well is Mix Man, Jacob Little Willie. Look, he is priced at, 700K, but look, his scores.
What a smoky.
His scores have been really special. He got 75 on the weekend, break even of 44 this week. Look, myself, I'm looking at Little just because I've been very disappointed with, I got in Reed Marnie, and I've been very disappointed with his scores the last few weeks. Look, obviously he went off early last week with a shoulder injury. But look, if you're looking for a hooker, probably not many are. But if you're a bit worried and not happy with how Marnie's going, he has been named to play this week. I'd be getting in Little. I reckon.
I know
straight
a lot
swap.
of people already will have either Grant, Starling, or both of them. So if you already have
and
those
Cook
two
as well.
if you already have those 2 or 3, definitely no need, especially if you're looking at Plath as well.
And as you said, Bentley, probably your second buy of the week, brother. Cam Murray, obviously back at lock, 57 points last week, did score a try. But look, I think we're going to get back to Muzz playing some big minutes, 49 break even. I think the time is now to get on Cam Murray to finish the season.
He's only going to go up in price, and he's peaked at nearly 900K in previous seasons before. So I think now's the time to get him. He's going to explode.
All right, let's smash out these ones. These are obviously pretty straightforward holds. Obviously, Tom Starling didn't have the greatest week last week. I think you can guarantee that Starling is going to bounce back this week. Obviously, he's still got 34 points, but I think, let me just double check. It was horrid. Where is it?
They do have Levi on the bench too, but it's not worrying.
8 missed tackles, Bentley. That's the killer. Negative 16 points. Look, that's fucking diabolically good out of 50 bomb.
Hold him.
Yeah, hold him. Hammer, look, he hasn't been the greatest of form.
But it's Hammer.
Going back closer to home up at Bundy this week could really spark Hammer. Look, if he... Put it this way, if he has a stinker this week, he's definitely a sell next week. I think you can't afford to be getting, 20s or 30s in your centers at this time.
Also, situation once again, like for the Dolphins, they need a win. I think he's got to lift. Anyone who needs the win, I think they're going to play well, play for the badge. Hammer for me, I'd definitely be holding.
Yeah, Casey McLean, obviously,
it's too cheap to sell.
Yeah, cheapy and obviously
starting,
kept his spot, and look, he'll bounce back this week. Keeney, obviously, as well. Look, the Titans didn't score a single point last weekend, unfortunately. So that means, of course, they didn't have as much ball as well. So Keeney really suffered from that. He'll bounce back this week. Obviously, Brimson on the bench could play a bit of factor, but let's just see what happens. I'd be holding Keeney. Yep. Ruben Garrick, obviously another one. Manly have a great draw. He's a known gun. I think it's an easy hold for Garrick. Still got 38 points. Same with Jaden Campbell, 39 points. Look, he's had a couple of average weeks the last couple of weeks, but look, I think that the Titans can really bounce back this week. I know Des will be absolutely drilling them because he will not be happy with them scoring 0 points and conceding 44. So I think they'll be back. Bo Firma, like we touched on, Bent's 18th man this weekend. Definitely one to watch. I wouldn't be selling him unless this is the only reason why I would sell either these next 3 of Firma, Marnie. I'd just say, let's just touch on Firma. The only reason I'd sell Firma is if I really need a score this week and I know that Firma's not playing. So let's say the late mail comes in, he's not playing. I'd be moving him to someone to obviously try and get that head-to-head victory. Because, and even total points, you can't really afford to have someone priced at that not playing this week. So obviously, if you've got Firma playing in your centres, Herbie's the man. If you've got him in the second row, you can go someone like a Preston or a Murray or something like that. Reed Marnie, like I said, he obviously came off early with the shoulder injury. He's been managed. I think he's a hole, but you could sell him as well. Same with Keon Kulamatungi, like we touched on, Bents. Obviously,
just against the Tigers, though. That's just my thing.
Yeah, I think if I was to sell either Reed Marnie or Keon, I'd lead towards Reed Marnie. So, and then the clear sells. Ruben Porter obviously dropped this week. Jeremiah Nanai, obviously, like we touched on in the TLT, failed his HIA, and then also the Cowboys have a bye next week as well. So that if you're in that 6% of owning Nanai, move on. And then obviously our Pookie Bear, Reece Walsh. Look, he could be back next week, but look, the injury that he suffered, unfortunately, normally requires around 3 to 4 weeks. So I think the best case scenario is probably the Broncos maybe get the surgery done and he could be back for the final round of the season against the Storm.
I think situation for them now that they're unlikely to be in the finals, I doubt he'll play. I think if he's missing 2 weeks, I'd probably move him on.
Yep. Well, brother, that is buy, hold, sell for round 24. But look, obviously, let's segue here, brother. Like, obviously, you might have been eliminated.
Not me, but yeah.
Yeah, no. We were actually, I didn't even make the finals. I'm still in the minor finals. But
Head up.
Look, I don't know what happened there. It was absolute robbery. I think I'm in the top 8, but thankfully. Well, thankfully, you can, obviously, we've got the Bundy mixer that you can join our league. There's a post. I'll actually reshare that on the story in the next coming days that you can join. Obviously, pick three girls, 3 guys, and you can obviously compete in that. There's prizes every week that Bundy put in, and just like all the comps that we're doing, you can obviously go on the chance to win an all-out hat as well. But also as well, an exciting opportunity, brother. TBC Live is something, obviously, when the game starts, you're obviously locked out. You can't do those, your fantasy changes or stuff like that. The TBC Live is obviously something you can download the app and contribute. You can predict stuff that's happening in the game. So I think on that, brother, let's give some predictions this weekend for the games. This weekend, I reckon Nathan Cleary kicks a field goal is my is my prediction for the Panthers Storm on Thursday night. Just give us one prediction. What are you thinking, brother?
I really love that prediction.
Sorry.
We
can double down on it.
I mean, I'll happily double down, but I'm also looking at KP for a try. I think it's pretty boring to say, but I think he's so back, and against the Sharks and also their situation, KP to score is my prediction.
All right, so there's our predictions. But again, if you want to get involved, download the app. We'll be putting something on our on our Instagram this week as well, with the link and everything, how it works and everything like that as well.
There's also some grand final tickets to win as well, so definitely worth downloading.
Two grand final tickets.
Yeah, definitely worth a download.
For you and your Pookie Bear.
Me and Reece Walsh.
Yes. Look, Bents, an absolutely stunning podcast, brother.
Lovely.
Obviously touched on it all. Look, we'll still be going the rest of the season. Obviously, the buy, hold, sells is probably going to be a bit more shorter, I think, just because of the options and everyone's trades. But look, thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you next week for round 25.
See you then. Good luck.